Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with a file from the Cut Shop today. This file is actually 3 files that are meant for traveler's notebooks, and it's called Snack Attack. I started with my file in the Silhouette software, but I didn't want the words that were on here, and so I went ahead and I did Release Compound Path. Once you do that, everything is its own. You have to be kind of careful because everything is its own little piece at this point. But it allows me to go in and delete the words and then go back in and make compound path, and then it's ready to cut. So I did that because it didn't really fit, the words didn't really fit what I needed for this layout. This layout is all about eating some ice cream, but there's a little bit more to it than that. So I will explain that as we go. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking my cut file that I've already cut and I'm cutting down around the outside just a little bit because I decided after I'd already cut it that I wanted to have this pink paper behind both sides of the paper. So I went ahead, or both sides of the layout. So I went ahead and I cut that white paper that I have the ice cream cone on so that there would be just a little bit of that pink paper revealed behind it around the outsides. And I'm still gonna back my cut file, but I just wanted a little bit of that pink to tie those two sides together. So I went ahead and I got out this Chamel collection because I knew that there were other things in it that had like ice cream cones. And so I grabbed that, and it happened to have this Cheers. I think it's the same collection. They had this Cheers word. It actually just said cheer, but then I cut an S off a different word and added it to it. So it said cheers because I wanted my title to be Cheers of Joy. Kind of a play on the Tears of Joy sort of thing, but also in the photo, my daughter and I are both eating ice cream, or we're doing cheers with our ice cream cone. And the paper part of the ice cream cone, you know how they put the paper on the bottom, that part says joy on it. And so Cheers of Joy, get it? That is what I posted on my Instagram page when I posted this almost a year ago. One of the reasons that I took the photo and posted it on my Instagram as Cheers of Joy is because I was I always kind of do this, but at that point in my life, about a year ago, I was really trying to find joy in everyday things. We were going through a rough time. My father was in hospice. In fact, this was taken the day before he passed away. And so I was always on the lookout for things that make me happy, things that show joy, things that I could celebrate, even though a lot of things were kind of pretty icky at the time. And so I was posting things on Instagram, quotes and things like that, that just showed me joy and showed others joy for those that might need it. So, anyway, so that's kind of the story behind the photo, and I'll tell a little bit more in a minute. But what I'm doing now is I'm going through, so there's one of the many ice cream cones that are in this collection, but I don't end up using any of them. So what I'm trying to do here is just back this cut file with different colors. I love this little cherry on top. It has, what I did is I cut out a little face that has eyeglasses on it from that 6x6 pad, and it's awesome because it just looks like a cherry with glasses on. It's kind of funny. Anyway, and I backed it using that kind of a wood grain paper. It was all from one 6x6 paper piece of paper. It just happened to have the colors that I liked, and so I went ahead and used it. It worked out well. So since I did use that wood grain on the bottom part of the cone, I am adding a little bit of wood grain over to the right side, as well as some yellow, because there's no yellow over there, so that I can make sure that the two sides kind of connect to each other. When I do 2-page layouts like this, which is most of the time in my traveler's notebook, when I do a 2-page spread, I'm always trying to make the two sides connect to each other through color, also sometimes through doing like clusters that match or like complement each other on both sides, things like that. So I have the Cheers is in kind of that really pretty aqua color. And so I wanted to make sure that was over on the left side. So I made that one of the pieces of ice cream, for example. So those are some of the things that I do. All right, so I've learned that one of the things that I need to do before I glue stuff down typically is to go ahead and punch my holes into my papers. Then I decided that this was okay to actually glue this part down first. And then you'll see me, I use, when I do my traveler's notebooks, I use um, a traveler's notebook cover that is actually from Colorcast Designs, and it has binder rings. It has 2 binder rings, and so I have a piece of paper that I have cut to size with the holes in it, and so I use that kind of like as a little template. You'll see that come out here in just a second. I use that as a little template to cut my holes or punch my holes into the paper before I actually start to glue most of the stuff down, because then I know where the holes are and I know I'm not going to put holes through somebody's head or something like that. So this was a little mistake that I made. It ended up okay, but I think I would have liked the whole thing a little bit better had I had Cheers of Joy go off the center of the page rather than go off the right side of the page. I'm going to cut that off. Had I had it go off the other side of the page, I might have been able to have some of that speech bubble on the other side so that it would kind of tie the 2 pages together. But it turns out just fine. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for things that I can use to embellish. I had pulled out some hearts that are on wood veneer that is also from Colorcast Designs. I grabbed some different things to fussy cut that are related to ice cream cones that are in the collection. I don't end up using any of the ice cream cones, which is kind of funny. Then I found this paper, which had some flowers on it, some hearts on it, some more ice cream cones, and things like that. So I cut some of those out. I'm not going to make you see the whole, fussy cutting every little piece, but I found some yellow and some teal and some pink, and I might have even, and maybe some navy, I think. And I tried to use kind of those colors to create clusters across my page. So this is where, after I cut the Cheers of Joy speech bubble off, I was like, I kind of wish I had it like this. But I'd already put my holes in my paper, so I couldn't do that. So I toyed with the idea of adding that over to the left like this and moving everything over and all of that. But I end up going, you know what? This works. This works. It's good enough. I like how it ended up a lot. So I'm not, complaining at all about that. I like the way the layout ends up in the end. But at this point I was like kind of mad at myself that I got a little punch happy and cut happy and all of that kind of stuff before I'd really thought it out enough. But it's okay. I like the way it turns out at the end. So right now I'm finding things to fussy cut. I'm looking at stickers. I don't even think I end up using any stickers. I'm not sure. I end up fussy cutting more than I use because I was just really trying to decide what I was going to put in my clusters, because at this point I know that, or at least I think that the little ice cream cones aren't really going to work. So I cut out some hearts, and then I ended up sticking with just flowers. So the other thing that I did, so those flowers are there, they're not glued down yet, but they're in their clusters. So the other thing that I did is I went ahead and I found this piece of 6x6 paper from the paper pad, and it had that kind of aqua color in it, and so I used it with my typewriter to just type my journaling because I wanted a little bit more aqua on the page than what I had so far. And so I ended up typing up my journaling. My journaling says, we took a break from all the crazy and spent the day together as a family. And that is exactly true. We took this day, my father was in hospice, and the following day is the day that he actually passed away. So you can imagine this whole week had been pretty intense, and it was a Saturday, and they were having a festival in town with a lot of fun things going on. And so we took B downtown to that festival and kind of just hung out for the day. Um, so, I mean, that's really the story. I didn't want to write all of that in there because I didn't need to. I have some of that story on other layouts and journals and things like that. I know by the date that I stamp on here what was going on that day, and it gives enough of the information about how life had been pretty crazy at that time. So, the other thing that I typed up, it says the perfect snack ice cream, and that I'm going to put underneath the photo. And then I ended up typing nom 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 and putting that underneath cheers of joy underneath the title. The other thing that I fussy cut out is there's a 6x6 paper pad that has, or in the 6x6 paper pad, there's a paper that has these little um, speech bubbles. And since I used a speech bubble to house my title, I thought adding the little speech bubbles over on the right side would tie it together. And I just liked that I could use the same colors, and it worked out really nicely. So they say cheer, fabulous, and hello. Um, and so now I am just really gluing everything down. I don't think I add anything else to it except, oh, I do add a little bit of tangled thread, of course, behind the photo, and then um, I think behind one of the flowers. So the behind the photo on the bottom right, or that little what are those called? Photo corner. Behind that photo corner, I add a little bit of yellow thread, and then behind the flower up on the upper left, I add a little bit of tangled thread as well. It just adds another pop of that yellow. I didn't have a lot of yellow on the layout, so I wanted to make sure that I had something to kind of go with that, and so that's about it. The close-ups are going to come up here in just a second. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope that the little mini tutorial at the beginning of how to go ahead and take out parts of the file that you didn't want works for you. And let me know if you have any questions about that or anything else, the cut files or anything else, actually. So just leave a comment below, subscribe if you aren't a subscriber. I would love to see you subscribe. And I will see you again in my next video. Thanks a lot.